Okay, I want to start today with a question that feels a little bit illegal in our current culture.
Oh, I like this. Go on.
We live in a world that is just, completely obsessed with the hustle, right? We optimize our waking hours, we hack our productivity, we drink the caffeine, we crush the to-do list.
We absolutely do. It's all about what you can get done between sunrise and sunset.
Exactly. But here's the question. When you finally turn off the lights and go to sleep, what do you think your body is actually doing?
It is the million-dollar question. And if we're being honest, I think most people view sleep as a passive state. You park the car in the garage, you turn off the engine, and maybe you trickle charge the battery.
Right, it's just idling.
Yeah, the machine is off. It's in standby mode.
That is exactly how I pictured it. I'm offline, I'm powered down. But we are looking at a stack of research today, and it's all centered around this fascinating transcript from Real Logic that suggests this idling theory is just completely wrong.
It's not just wrong, it's almost the exact opposite of what's happening.
The source material argues that when we sleep, our bodies are supposed to be working significantly harder than they do all day.
It is a total reframe of human physiology. It really is. The source material introduces this concept of the redemption cycle.
I love that name.
It sounds a bit dramatic, I know, almost religious, but biologically, it actually holds up perfectly.
So what is it? What's the redemption cycle?
The core argument is that the human body has this high-intensity, aggressive cleaning protocol that only kicks in when the conscious mind shuts down, when you go into those deep sleep stages.
And this isn't just resting. We aren't talking about lying on a couch and relaxing. We are talking about active labor.
Very active labor. I mean, think about it this way.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, you are catabolic. You're breaking things down. You're burning energy. You're stressing your tissues. And you're accumulating all this metabolic waste.
All this junk.
All this junk,
Yeah.
exactly. Neurotoxins in your brain, lactic acid in your muscles. The redemption cycle is the anabolic flip. It's the night shift janitorial crew coming in.
I like that analogy.
It works, right? Your lymphatic system, which is like the lymphatic system for your brain, opens up to flush those neurotoxins out. Your liver starts dumping the chemical load it filtered during the day.
Yeah.
Your intestines attempt to reset their motility to move things along. Your immune system is literally rebuilding its armies from the ground up.
So if we wake up feeling groggy, stiff, puffy, or just ugh,
Which is how so many people wake up.
it's not because we didn't sleep enough hours necessarily. It's because the janitorial crew didn't finish the job.
Precisely. The shift was understaffed,
Mm.
or the doors to the different rooms were locked, or the equipment was broken. And that's really the hook of today's deep dives.
Right.
We have this incredible biological machinery designed to reset us every single night, but for most of us, it's stalled, it's stuck. And the solution that this research points to isn't some new pharmaceutical. It isn't a $10,000 biohacking chamber.
It is something that costs pennies.
It is. And it's likely something your grandmother or maybe even your great-grandmother had in her medicine cabinet.
We are talking about castor oil. And I have to admit, when I first saw this in the show notes, I laughed out loud.
Most people do.
I immediately thought of old cartoons, The Punishment Medicine, or just some old wives' tale about hair growth. It feels unscientific. It feels like folklore.
And that is the hurdle we have to clear today, for sure.
Yeah.
Castor oil has a massive PR problem.
It really
It's
does.
steeped in folklore and mythology.
Mm.
But our mission today is to strip all of that away. We aren't going to talk about magic. We are going to talk about measurable neurobiology. We are going to talk about lipid chemistry and specific protein interactions. Because when you look at the actual source material, the biochemistry of this oil, it is shockingly sophisticated.
The claim is that this oil, specifically applied topically, and that's the key part, not swallowed, but put on the skin, acts as a synchronization key for that nightly redemption cycle.
A key is a great word for it.
And we're talking about a visibly flatter stomach, deeper sleep, hair regrowth, and a massive spike in immune function. Big claims.
Huge claims. And the key there, like you said, really is topical. We are moving from the water, rubbing oil on your belly to the why. Because if you don't understand the mechanism, you won't do it.
Oh, for sure.
You'll try it once, it'll be sticky and annoying, and you'll just quit. But if you understand that you are essentially unlocking a biological docking station in your gut, you'll stick with it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the source makes a really bold statement and says, this is what separates people who understand their biology from people who just follow trends.
Right.
I don't want to just follow a trend. I want to know how it works.
Good. Then let's get into the weeds.
Introduce us to the star of the show. this isn't just oil, like olive oil or coconut oil. There is a specific molecule at work here.
There is. It's a fatty acid called ricinoleic acid.
Ricinoleic acid. Okay, that sounds serious. Break that down for us. What makes it so special?
So most oils, think almond oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, they're made up of a mix of fatty acids like oleic acid or linoleic acid. Castor oil is unique because it is roughly 90% ricinoleic acid.
90%.
90%. That is incredibly rare in nature to have one single fatty acid dominate a plant oil's profile so heavily. But the real magic isn't just the amount. It is the shape of the molecule.
The shape.
Yeah. Chemically, it has something called a hydroxyl group on the 12th carbon of its chain.
Okay, you are getting technical on me. Hydroxyl group. Why does it matter to you, the listener, who just wants a flatter stomach?
It matters because it makes the molecule polar. It gives it a charge.
Yeah.
And that changes how it interacts with water and your own tissues. But more importantly, this specific shape with that little hydroxyl group sticking out allows it to fit into a very specific lock in the human body.
Like a key.
Exactly like a key.
And the source calls these the EP3 receptors.
Right. This is the crux of the science. And honestly, if you take nothing else away from today, understand this. Your body, specifically the smooth muscle cells of your intestines and your uterus, is covered in these receptors called EP3 prostanoid receptors.
Okay, so they're just waiting there.
They're just waiting for the right signal. And ricinoleic acid has this specific molecular affinity for them. It fits into them like your house key fits into your front door. No other fatty acid could do it.
So, unlike coconut oil, which might just sit there on your skin and moisturize it, this stuff is actually signaling your body to do something.
Exactly. Coconut oil is a conditioner. Castor oil is a signal. When ricinoleic acid penetrates the skin, and because of its molecular weight and that polarity we mentioned, it penetrates very, very well. It doesn't just stop at the skin. It goes down to the muscular layers.
And it finds these receptors.
It finds them, it binds to them, and it triggers a contraction.
A contraction? That sounds intense. Is this going to give me cramps? Am I going to wake up in pain? Because that sounds uncomfortable.
That's a valid fear and a really important distinction, especially if anyone has ever made the mistake of drinking castor oil, which creates a violent spasmodic reaction. But topically, it's very different.
How so?
It's not a spasm. It's not a random cramp. Think of it as a coordinated rhythmic wave. The scientific term is peristalsis.
Peristalsis, right. That's the rhythmic squeezing that moves food through the gut.
Correct. In a healthy body, peristalsis is automatic. It's like a conveyor belt at the grocery store, just moving things along. But in many of us, due to stress, inflammation, processed food, or just sitting at a desk all day, that conveyor belt is moving in slow motion.
Or it's stuttering.
Or it's stuttering, exactly, it's stuck. When you apply the oil topically, you are chemically turning up the voltage on that conveyor belt's motor. You are amplifying the body's natural motion, and you're doing it right at the moment you go to sleep, which is when that janitorial crew is supposed to be working anyway.
You're giving them the tools they need to do the job.
You're turning the lights on for them.
Okay, so I apply this oil. It seeps through the skin, which creates a mental image of its own. It hits these muscles and it tells the gut, all right, team, let's get to work.
This leads us directly into the first major deep dive area, the gut and lymphatic overhaul. The source has a great name for this. It calls it the bloat destroyer. The bloat destroyer. It's a catchy name for sure, but the physiology backs it up completely.
And I think everyone listening can relate to that feeling. You wake up and you just feel heavy, stagnant, your clothes feel tight, but you haven't actually gained 5 pounds of fat overnight. It's just distension. It's so uncomfortable.
It's pure stagnation. And according to our source, there are 2 distinct mechanisms happening when you apply that castor oil pack to your abdomen that fixes this. The first is that mechanical clearing we just talked about.
Right, the conveyor belt speeding up.
Exactly. You're physically stimulating the smooth muscle to push accumulated waste forward. But the second mechanism is arguably even more important, and it involves something called biofilm.
Biofilm. Okay, this really grossed me out when I read it, but it makes so much sense. Explain what biofilm is in the context of our gut.
So bacteria are smart. They're survivalists. To protect themselves from your immune system and from antibiotics, they secrete this sticky, slimy matrix made of sugars and proteins. That is a biofilm.
But the classic example is plaque on your teeth, right?
That is a perfect example. That fuzzy feeling on your teeth in the morning. That's a biofilm. Now imagine a version of that coating the inside of your 20-plus feet of intestines.
And the source calls this a fermentation tank.
It is a vivid description, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because this biofilm, this sticky web, it acts like a net. It traps undigested food particles. It traps waste. It harbors pathogenic bacteria and
It's like
yeasts.
a swamp.
It's a swamp. And when food gets stuck in that mesh, it doesn't just sit there. It ferments. That fermentation produces gas methane, hydrogen. That gas produces the bloating. So when you look in the mirror and your stomach is distended, you are literally inflating from the inside out.
You're a human balloon.
You are. You're filled with gas from trapped, fermenting waste stuck in a bacterial web.
That is a horrifying thought. But it explains why dieting sometimes doesn't fix the bloat. You can eat a perfectly healthy salad, but if it gets stuck in that web, it's still going to ferment.
Exactly. You can't just stop eating. You have to break down the tank itself. And this is where castor oil really shines. That ricinoleic acid we keep talking about, it has well-documented antimicrobial and antifungal properties. But more than that, it seems to act as a surfactant. It helps to degrade and dissolve that lipid-based biofilm structure.
So it's like using a degreaser on a really dirty pan.
That is a fantastic analogy. You aren't just pushing the old food out with the muscle contractions, you are scrubbing the walls of the tank at the same time. You are breaking down the very matrix that holds the waste in place.
Wow.
So the source claims that the result you see isn't water weight loss. It is the physical emptying of actual cemented waste that may have been stuck in your system for, well, who knows how long.
They mentioned a timeline here too, which I found really interesting. They say by day 3 of consistent application, people often report a visibly flatter stomach.
And that is such a critical distinction for you to hear. This is not fat loss. You are not burning adipose tissue in 3 days. That's biologically impossible.
Right, this isn't a weight loss miracle.
No. But if you were carrying around, say, 2 liters of trapped gas and several pounds of backed up waste, and you clear that out, your silhouette changes immediately, your pants fit differently. It is a structural change, not a fat loss change.
Okay, so that's the gut. Huge. But the source says the big one, the benefit that really separates castor oil from everything else is the lymphatic flush.
This is the game changer.
I feel like the lymphatic system is the misunderstood stepchild of biology. We all know it exists, we hear the term, but we don't really know what it does.
That is a very, very fair assessment. In medical school, the circulatory system, the blood, the heart, the arteries, it gets all the glory. The lymphatic system is treated as this sort of passive sidekick.
The drainage ditch on the side of the highway?
That's a great way to put it, but it's actually your body's sewage system. And it's just as important as the fresh water delivery. Every single cell in your body produces waste. Metabolic poop, if you will.
Ew.
That waste gets dumped into the fluid between your cells, the interstitial fluid. The lymphatic system's job is to act like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks up that fluid, filters it through your lymph nodes where immune cells clean it, and then dumps the clean fluid back into your bloodstream to be eliminated.
But there's a catch, right? The blood has the heart, this massive, powerful muscle to pump it all around the body. The lymph system
has no pump. Not a single one. That is the critical flaw, or perhaps a design feature, depending on how you look at it.
How does it move then?
The lymphatic system relies entirely on external forces. Deep breathing, muscle contraction, physical movement. If you are sedentary or if you have high inflammation, which makes that lymphatic fluid thick and sludgy, that sewer system backs up.
And a backed up sewer system in a house is a complete disaster. In a body, I imagine it's just as toxic.
It is. It manifests as fatigue, brain fog, water retention, puffiness in the face and ankles, stubborn cellulite, skin issues, and just getting sick all the time. It is a stagnant swamp inside your tissues.
Okay, so with that in mind, the source drops this massive statistic that we need to unpack. They cite a study.
They do. From the Journal of Naturopathic Medicine.
I highlighted this. A 60% increase.
Yes. The study showed that applying castor oil packs to the abdomen increased lymphocyte production by over 60% within 24 hours compared to a placebo pack.
Wait, let's just pause on that. 60%. That is a massive, massive spike for a simple topical application. That's a drug level effect.
It is huge. It's pharmaceutical level. And lymphocytes, just to be clear for everyone, are your primary white blood cells. They are the soldiers of your immune system. They are your T cells and B cells. They identify pathogens. They clean up cellular debris. They fight infection. So by applying this oil, you are essentially rallying the troops. You're calling in reinforcements.
But how? That's the part I'm stuck on. How does oil on my stomach make my body produce more immune cells deep inside?
It goes back to the anatomy of the gut. Your small intestine isn't just for absorbing nutrients. It is a major immune organ. It contains these specialized areas of tissue called Peyer's patches.
Peyer's patches. Sounds like a quilting club.
Huh, far from it. They are essentially immune surveillance hubs. They are dense clusters of lymphoid tissue embedded right in the gut lining. And it makes sense, right? The gut is where most foreign invaders enter your body via your food. So the body puts its biggest military bases right there on the front line.
Okay, makes sense.
When the ricinoleic acid penetrates the skin and the abdominal wall, it's not just hitting the smooth muscle, it's stimulating these Peyer's patches.
And that triggers a chain reaction.
A massive one, a cascade.
Yeah.
The Peyer's patches get stimulated, they signal the lymph nodes activate, and the spleen, which is like the barracks for your white blood cells, is triggered to produce and release more of them into circulation.
Wow.
The source compares it to manually pumping your sewer system. I think that's a perfect description. You are forcing the fluid to move, and you're adding more sanitation workers to the fluid at the very same time.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, you apply the oil, you go to sleep, and while you're totally unconscious, your body is aggressively hunting down toxins and flushing them out of your tissue so you can pee them out in the morning?
That is the redemption cycle in action. That is the night shift working overtime. And it explains why people report feeling clearer and lighter after a few nights. It is not just a subjective feeling. Biologically, you have lowered the toxic load in your interstitial fluids.
It really emphasizes how much junk we might be walking around with without even realizing it. We normalize feeling heavy. We normalize the brain fog. We think it's just aging or stress.
And the source argues it's just stagnation. The body isn't broken, it is just clogged.
Speaking of clogged, we have to talk about benefit number 6 from the outline. The gut reset, or specifically constipation. The source says you cannot be healthy if you are full of waste, which is blunt, but pretty hard to argue with.
It is non-negotiable biology. You cannot have a high-functioning system if the exhaust pipe is plugged. It's that simple. Everything backs up. But there is a massive connection here to mental health that the source brings up, which I find absolutely fascinating.
A serotonin connection.
Right. We tend to think of serotonin as a brain chemical. We take SSRIs for depression to boost serotonin levels in the brain, but the science is clear now. Over 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in your gut.
90%? That just seems so disproportionate.
It's incredible, isn't it? They call the gut the second brain for a reason. You have a whole nervous system in there, the enteric nervous system. So the logic follows. If your gut is a fermentation tank full of stagnant waste, biofilm, and inflammation, your mucosal lining is stressed. Your ability to produce this crucial neurochemistry is compromised.
So a constipated gut often leads to a foggy, anxious mind.
It's a direct link. A clean colon equals a clearer mind. The source says the castor oil acts as the gold standard natural laxative, but, and I love this, you don't have to drink it.
Oh, thank goodness. Because I've heard drinking castor oil is, well, let's just say explosive is the polite word.
It is violent. It's a purgative. It causes intense cramping and diarrhea because it severely irritates the lining when ingested. But the topical application bypasses all that gastric distress. It stimulates the smooth muscle from the outside in. It breaks up the cement in the colon gently overnight while you sleep.
Breaking up the cement. Again, so vivid, but it makes perfect sense. If you clear the colon, you clear the mind.
It is a feedback loop. A clearer gut leads to better serotonin production, which leads to a better mood, which leads to less stress, which in turn leads to better gut function. You're breaking a negative cycle.
Okay, so we've flushed the lymph, we've cleared the gut, we're feeling lighter. Now I want to move to something that really surprised me. I usually think of detox as something uncomfortable, you feel sick before you feel better. But the source says this leads to the deepest sleep of your life.
Benefit number 3. And this is so interesting because usually sleep aids are things like lavender, which works through your sense of smell, or melatonin, which is a hormone you ingest. Castor oil works through a completely different pathway. Biochemistry and the nervous system.
And the application is different too, right? They mentioned the navel method, which is literally putting oil in your belly button.
Yes, or on the eyelids. But the belly button, the umbilicus, is actually a fascinating entry point from a developmental biology perspective. The skin there is very thin, and it's a remnant of your original connection to life support, the umbilical cord. It is highly vascular and connects to fascia that runs deep into the abdomen. But the primary mechanism for sleep revolves around inflammation.
How does inflammation stop you from sleeping? I always thought inflammation just meant my knee hurt or I had a fever.
That's local inflammation. But we can also have low-grade systemic inflammation, and this is a major biological stressor. When your body is systemically inflamed, whether from a poor diet, chronic stress, or environmental toxins, it releases cortisol.
Cortisol, the stress hormone.
The alert signal. The tiger is chasing you. Hormone. Biologically, cortisol and melatonin are on a seesaw. They're antagonists. If cortisol is high, melatonin production is suppressed. You cannot be alert and asleep at the same time. It's a survival mechanism.
So if I'm chronically inflamed, my cortisol is kind of stuck in the on position, effectively stepping on the brakes for my melatonin production.
Precisely. You've nailed it. You might fall asleep from sheer exhaustion, but you won't stay asleep. And you certainly won't go into the deep restorative phases. The ricinoleic acid is a potent anti-inflammatory. By applying it, you're reducing that systemic inflammation. You're taking the foot off the cortisol brake. This allows your body's natural melatonin to rise as it should when it gets dark.
There was also a mention of the vagus nerve. I feel like I hear this term everywhere now. It's the new buzzword.
It is, and for good reason. The vagus nerve is the superhighway of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode. It runs from your brainstem all the way down to your colon. It touches every major organ.
It's the calming network.
It is. The source claims the oil helps to calm and tone the vagus nerve, likely through that gut-brain axis connection we discussed, as well as simple cutaneous sensory stimulation. When the vagus nerve is toned and calm, your whole body gets the signal to shift out of fight or flight.
And the result is deeper sleep. Not just dozing off, but, as the source says, re-entry into REM and deep sleep phases that you might have forgotten you could have.
That is the key. So many people get 8 hours of sleep, but it's all light sleep. They wake up tired because they never hit those truly restorative phases where the brain cleaning and memory consolidation happens. Reducing that inflammation and cortisol allows the brain to finally drop into those deep, deep cycles.
I feel like I need to try this just for the sleep alone. Seriously, but let's pivot. We've been talking a lot about the inside, the gut, the lymph, the nerves. But a huge part of the castor oil craze you see on social media is about how you look. The aesthetics.
The natural Botox claim.
Right. Benefit number 4.
Go.
Now, I have to be the skeptic here. I am extremely wary of anything called natural Botox. That is a huge promise. And the idea of rubbing this thick, sticky oil on your face, how does that not just clog your pores and give you acne?
That is the paradox, and it's a great question. Usually we are told oil-free is the way to go for clear skin. But castor oil is unique because of 2 things. First, its antimicrobial nature, which actually helps kill acne-causing bacteria like P. acnes. And second, the fact that it is a humectant.
What does that mean, humectant versus, what's the other one?
Most oils, like coconut oil or mineral oil, are primarily occlusives.
Yes.
They sit on top of the skin and they trap whatever's there. They form a seal, which can be good, but it can also trap dirt and bacteria.
Right.
A humectant is a substance that actively attracts moisture. It literally draws water molecules from the air and from the deeper layers of your skin up into the epidermis. So castor oil pulls moisture in.
But what about the clogging? It just feels so thick and heavy.
It is thick, but its molecular structure allows it to penetrate much more deeply than other oils. The source explains that it doesn't just sit on the epidermis, which is the surface layer. It actually goes past the epidermis into the dermis.
And that's where the important stuff is.
That's where the structural magic happens. This is where your fibroblasts live.
Fibroblasts. Tell me about those.
Fibroblasts are the little cellular construction workers of your skin. They are the factories that manufacture collagen and elastin, the proteins that give your skin its firmness and bounce. As we age, these little factories slow down production. The ricinoleic acid has been shown to stimulate these fibroblasts to essentially tell them to get back to work.
So the source says it stimulates collagen and elastin production, and that the fatty acids fill gaps in the skin matrix.
Think of your youthful skin like a brand new brick wall. The bricks are your cells, and the mortar is plump and strong. That's your collagen. As we age, the mortar starts to crumble and crack. The fatty acids in the oil act like fresh mortar, plumping the structure from the inside out, while the stimulation of the fibroblasts tells the body to make new mortar.
And they give a timeline here, too. A visible difference in 48 hours for the plumping, but 4 to 8 weeks for fine lines to actually flatten.
Which aligns perfectly with the skin's natural turnover cycle. It is not an overnight miracle for wrinkles, but that plumpness, that intense hydration effect, can be almost immediate because of the humectant property. You're literally pulling water into the tissue and it looks fuller.
Now, from skin to hair. Benefit number 7, the hair resurrection. This is the one I see all over Instagram and TikTok, people putting it on their eyebrows, their eyelashes, their receding hairlines. Is this just moisturizing the hair, or is it actually growing it?
This is one of the most compelling parts of the research for me, because it identifies a specific molecular villain. The source is very clear here. It is not just coating the hair shaft to make it look shiny. It is engaging with a biological protein called PGD2,
PJD2, what on earth is that?
prostaglandin D2. And research in recent years has shown that high levels of PGD2 are consistently found in the scalps of both men and women with androgenetic alopecia, or pattern hair loss.
So PGD2 is the bad guy for hair.
In the context of hair loss, yes, PGD2 effectively binds to a receptor on the hair follicle and tells it to shrink. It pushes the hair from the anagen phase, which is the growth phase, into the telogen phase, the resting phase. It basically chokes the life out of the follicle over time.
So the mechanism described in the source is that ricinoleic acid inhibits PGD2.
Oh, wow. So it actually blocks the thing that is causing the hair loss in the first place.
Exactly. It seems to block the protein that signals the follicle to shrink, and at the same time, because of that circulation boost we talked about earlier, it rushes blood flow and nutrients to the area. So you block the shrink signal, and you provide extra blood and nutrients to the follicle. It's like taking your foot off the garden hose and then turning the tap up all the way.
Fertilizer for your head is the analogy they use. It wakes up dormant follicles. But again, consistency is key here. Hair grows incredibly slowly. They mention 8 to 12 weeks of consistent use for visible results. You can't do this for a week and expect to have Rapunzel hair.
I love that idea of waking up dormant follicles. It connects back to the whole theme of this deep dive. The body isn't dead or broken, it is just stalled.
Stalled. That is the perfect word for it.
Let's talk about another form of stalling, scar tissue. Benefit number 8, the scar and stretch mark dissolver.
This is a profound one for anyone who has had surgery, a C-section, or even just deep acne scars or injuries.
They define scar tissue as chaotic connective tissue.
That is a great biological definition. Normal, healthy skin is like a beautifully woven fabric. The collagen fibers are organized, cross-hatched, flexible. Scar tissue is like a tangled, knotted ball of rope. It's hard, it's fibrous, it lacks circulation and flexibility. It's a panic response by the body to just close a wound as quickly as possible.
And this oil can actually break that down. How?
The claim from the source is that the oil penetrates deep enough to soften the glue, the adhesions, that are holding that chaotic tissue together. It helps to break down the fibrosis over time. It encourages the body to remove the old knotted tissue and lay down new organized tissue.
So it is essentially remodeling the skin from below the surface?
It's remodeling. It turns that hard knot back into a pliable weave. It's not going to erase a deep surgical scar overnight, but consistently massaging it into the area can soften that cement, make scars flatter, less discolored, and help stretch marks fade. It brings life and blood flow back to what are essentially dead zones on the body.
We've covered a lot of ground: gut, lymph, sleep, skin, hair, scars. I want to quickly touch on the pain and immune aspects before we get to the very, very critical safety warning. Benefit number 5 is joint pain reduction.
Right. This is for the arthritis sufferers or the bad knees crowd, the people who creak when they get out of bed. The mechanism here involves a neurotransmitter called substance P.
Substance P, it sounds like a comic book villain.
It basically stands for pain. It is a neuropeptide that transmits pain signals from your peripheral nerves up to your brain. If you stub your toe, substance P is the molecule that's screaming OUCH to your central nervous system. The research shows that ricinoleic acid has the ability to intercept substance P. It depletes it at the nerve ending.
So it's like a natural topical painkiller.
Yes, but with a bonus. It's often compared to capsaicin, which is that chili pepper cream often used for arthritis, but it works without that intense burning heat, which many people can't tolerate. And unlike taking an Advil, which just masks the pain signal centrally in your brain, the oil also increases circulation to the joint.
Ah, lubricating the gears.
Exactly. It brings fresh blood and nutrients to the joint to actually promote healing of the tissue, rather than just silencing the fire alarm. You are treating the cause, which is the inflammation and lack of blood flow, as well as the symptom, which is the pain.
And then there's benefit 9. Immune system modulation. We touched on lymph, but this specifically mentions the thymus gland.
The thymus is fascinating. It's a little gland that sits right behind your breastbone, and it is the training camp for your T cells. T cells are the special forces of your immune system. They're the killers. But the thymus shrinks dramatically as we age. It's a process called involution. By the time you are an adult, it is quite small, fatty, and much less active.
And the source suggests applying the oil directly to the chest bone.
Directly to the sternum, right over the thymus gland. The idea is that the transdermal absorption supports the gland and increases T cell activity and maturation. The source describes it as putting armor on your immune system while you sleep. If you are someone who feels like they catch every single cold that goes around, this is the protocol for you.
And finally, a very specific one that I know affects a lot of people: dry eyes. benefit 10.
A huge number of people suffer from this, especially with all of our screen time. They use eye drops constantly. But the source points out a major misconception. Dry eyes aren't usually a lack of water, they are a lack of oil.
Because the tears evaporate too quickly.
Exactly. Your tear film isn't just salt water, it has 3 layers. The top layer is a lipid, an oil layer, that seals the moisture in. If that layer is thin or poor quality, the water layer underneath evaporates almost instantly. Applying a tiny amount of castor oil to the eyelids, very carefully, not in the eye, helps to stabilize that lipid layer. It also can help unclog the meibomian glands, which are the tiny oil glands on your lash line that produce that oil.
So you wake up without that gritty sandpaper feeling.
Correct. You are reinforcing the seal on your tears.
Okay, we have built an incredible, almost unbelievable case for this simple oil. It sounds like a miracle substance. But, and this is a huge, huge BUT, the source material includes a section called the Redemption and Purchasing Rules. And it is genuinely alarming.
It is without a doubt the most critical part of this entire discussion. If you tune out now, or if you just go to the drugstore and buy the first bottle you see on the shelf, you could actually do more harm than good.
The source says flat out, the castor oil industry is dirty.
It's industrial. Castor seeds are very hard. They don't want to give up their oil easily.
Yeah.
So in mass manufacturing, they use a shortcut, a very dangerous shortcut. They use a chemical solvent called hexane.
What is hexane?
Hexane is a petroleum byproduct. It's a component of gasoline. It's a powerful solvent. They douse the crushed seeds in it, and it dissolves the oil out very efficiently. It gets every last drop, which maximizes profit. But here is the problem. Hexane is a confirmed neurotoxin.
The neurotoxin.
Yes, it damages nerve tissue.
Yeah.
The EPA classifies it as a hazardous air pollutant. And residues of that hexane remain in the finished oil. Now, remember what we said about castor oil's incredible ability to penetrate deep into your tissues.
It's a vehicle. It goes deep.
It goes deep. So if you apply hexane-processed oil to your skin, you are creating a transdermal delivery system for a neurotoxin. You are literally mainlining a poison into your tissues and your lymphatic system. The source puts it bluntly. You are poisoning the very system you are trying to clean.
That is terrifying. So you're trying to detox your liver, but you're rubbing a neurotoxin right over the top of it.
Exactly. It completely defeats the entire purpose. It's worse than doing nothing at all. You must avoid hexane at all costs. But that's not the only danger. We also have the plastic problem.
Right. The source says ricinoleic acid is a plasticizer. What does that even mean?
A plasticizer is a substance that's added to plastic to make it soft and flexible. Ricinoleic acid itself is an incredibly effective plasticizer, meaning it is chemically aggressive toward plastic polymers. It breaks them down.
So if the oil is sold in a plastic bottle,
the oil will leach the chemicals out of the plastic bottle directly into the oil. It'll pull out the BPA, bisphenol A, the phthalates, all the other stabilizers used to make that bottle.
And those are known endocrine disruptors.
Massive ones. They mimic estrogen in the body. They can disrupt testosterone. They mess with your thyroid function. So imagine this scenario. A woman buys castor oil to help with her period cramps or with ovarian cysts. She buys it in a cheap plastic bottle. She applies it over her abdomen, over her ovaries. She is now dosing her reproductive system with concentrated plastic chemicals that disrupt the very hormones she's trying to balance.
It is a Trojan horse. It's unbelievable.
Completely. You are smuggling toxins into your body under the guise of a health practice.
So lay out the rules. The source lists 3 non-negotiable rules. What are they?
They are very simple. Rule 1, it must be hexane-free. It has to say this on the label. No exceptions.
Okay.
Rule 2, it must be cold-pressed. This means they used mechanical pressure, not high heat or chemicals, to extract the oil. High heat destroys the delicate fatty acids and the antioxidants, rendering the oil far less effective.
Hexane-free, cold-pressed. What's number 3?
Rule 3, it must be in a glass bottle only. Dark glass, like amber or cobalt blue, is best to protect from light damage, but it must be glass to avoid that plastic leaching.
And the consequence if it doesn't meet all 3 of those?
If it doesn't meet those 3 criteria, the source says throw it in the trash. Do not put it on your body. Do not give it to a friend. It is not worth the risk.
Okay, that is crystal clear. Hexane-free, cold-pressed, glass bottle.
It is simple, but it is absolutely vital.
So we're coming to the end here. We've gone from the night shift cleaning crew to the molecular key of ricinoleic acid through the gut, the sleep, the skin, and now these critical safety warnings. The source wraps up with a philosophy that I really appreciate.
The smoke versus fire analogy?
Yeah, they say that standard advice and modern medicine often treat the smoke-taking anti-inflammatories for the pain, laxatives for the gut, sleeping pills for the insomnia, but we're never actually addressing the fire.
And the fire is stagnation. That, for me, is the single biggest takeaway from all of this. The body isn't broken, it is just stalled. We are stagnant. Our lymph is stagnant. Our gut is stagnant. Our hair follicles are stagnant. We are just clogged up with biofilm and metabolic waste.
And this oil, used correctly, is just the kinetic energy to get things moving again.
It helps the body subtract the waste. We're always so obsessed with adding things, add more supplements, add more medications, add more complexity. This is about subtraction. It's about removing the blockage so the profound biological intelligence of the body can finally take over again. The body knows how to heal. It just needs the trash taken out first.
So here's the call to action from the source. It is a challenge to you, the listener.
The implementation is so simple. Buy the right oil glass bottle, cold-pressed, hexene-free. Get an old t-shirt and some old sheets, because we should warn you again, this stuff is thick and it will stain everything it touches.
It stains like crazy. Do not use your nice bedding. Seriously.
Apply the pack to your abdomen. Put on your old t-shirt. Go to sleep. And do it for 3 nights in a row.
3 nights. That is the challenge. See if you notice that flat stomach result. See if you sleep deeper than you have in years. See if you just wake up feeling that lightness they talk about.
It's a very low risk, very low-cost experiment with a potentially huge upside.
I'm going to try it. After this, I'm genuinely going to try it. But before we go, I want to leave everyone listening with a final thought to chew on. We talked at the beginning about how we accept feeling groggy or stiff or bloated as just normal aging.
Right, we just settle for feeling subpar.
The source poses this question. How many other ailments are we accepting as normal aging that are simply biological functions waiting to be unstalled by simple, ancient mechanisms?
That is the provocative question, isn't it? We assume decline is inevitable, that feeling worse is just part of the deal. But maybe we just forgot how to properly maintain the machine.
Maybe we just need to help the night shift do its job properly.
I think that is a perfect place to end it.
Thanks for diving in with us. Let us know if you try the 3-night challenge. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Stay curious.